During the past 2 months, Texas Governor Greg Abbott has been putting migrants on buses and sending them to New York and Washington, D.C., both sanctuary cities. Now, Abbott is also sending those immigrants to Chicago. And Florida Governor Ron DeSantis sent a bus of migrants to Martha's Vineyard, Massachusetts. Good Day DePaul's Shadenn Gomez has details.
Shame on Governor Abbott. What he is doing is immoral, unpatriotic, and it defies the values of who we are as Americans.
Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot speaking after the first round of migrants from Texas arrived at Union Station in Chicago at the end of August. The approximately 75 migrants were met with shelter, food, and protection after being on a bus for about 12 hours. Chicago is just one of the cities where Governor Abbott has sent busloads of migrants. New York and Washington received them earlier. And recently, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis bused a group of migrants to Martha's Vineyard, Massachusetts. Governor Abbott says other states should share the immigrant burden with Texas.
And now Texas is sharing our pain with the rest of the country.
Abbott said, quote, "To continue providing much-needed relief to our small, overrun border towns, Chicago will join fellow sanctuary cities, Washington, D.C., and New York City as an additional drop-off location. Mayor Lori Lightfoot loves to tout the responsibility of her city to welcome all regardless of legal status, and I look forward to seeing this responsibility in action as these migrants receive resources from a sanctuary city with the capacity to serve them." The director of Refugee and Forced Migration Program at DePaul, Kathleen Arnold, says being a sanctuary city doesn't necessarily mean that a city is encouraging migration.
Sanctuary in layperson's terms just means that you don't cooperate with ICE. So it means that the police are not supposed to police immigration status, for example. It doesn't make sense if you think that all that means is that the police have to uphold the Constitution, and immigration policing and detention are largely unconstitutional. And so I don't see how that encourages migration. It just means that we treat them according to the rule of law, and he didn't.
The migrants from Chicago are primarily coming from Venezuela. Lourdes Torres, a professor of Latin American and Latino studies at DePaul, says a wave of Central and South Americans are coming to the United States.
In Venezuela, there's been a period of political unrest for a number of years, for decades now. And so there's a lot of food insecurity. A lot of people don't have jobs. They don't have access to safety. So a lot of these people are fleeing, and they buy into the idea that the United States is a country of immigrants and welcomes people.
Chicago has been able to help migrants through donations and services from nonprofit organizations like the Salvation Army. The state of Illinois has provided hotels as shelter for migrants in some Chicago suburbs like Elk Grove and Burr Ridge. But the mayor of Burr Ridge says no one notified him in advance that the migrants were coming to his town. Meanwhile, at these hotels, migrants wait for the next steps of their journey. The busloads of migrants remind 20-year-old DePaul student Jacqueline Cardenas of her own experience.
I think of my parents. My parents were immigrants. I'm the daughter of immigrants. So, their journey to this country was a lot different than what these recent migrants are experiencing. But I think that it's unfortunate, honestly, that instead of crossing whatever border that they're supposed to originally, whether that be through the Texas border or any other southern part of the United States, that they can't just step their foot in without already being booted out.
Since the first busload, there have been a total of 11 busloads of migrants coming from Texas to Chicago, approximately 509 migrants in total. The city of Chicago says it needs help from the federal government. Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker issued a disaster proclamation to speed up the humanitarian assistance. Pritzker also criticized Governor Abbott's actions.
They won't tell us how many infants, children, seniors, or families are on board. They won't tell us what route they take or when they will arrive. They won't provide any information that would actually help their fellow Americans welcome and care for these human beings.
With no one knowing when this could end, the city and state are asking for donation and volunteers to help get migrants situated. An Amazon wish list was created listing the cost for items like food and clothing. If you would like to volunteer, you can go to chicago.gov for more information. For Good Day DePaul, Shadenn Gomez.